Good afternoon, traders. Today is Saturday at 12:36 and I'm working as I always do, work 6 days, rest 1. And what I'm going to do is discuss ETFs in this video. So we're going to look at some of the core sectors and try to get some ideas on trades for next week. The first one I'm going to look at is XLE. Now I'm going to type in a few components so you can get a grasp on what the internals are showing. Starting with Exxon, because it is the largest core weighting holding in the XLE of almost 18%. So basically Exxon has rolled over in the past 2 weeks. I love the company, but it's been rather disappointing to me lately. It has a great management. I know someone that worked for Exxon for many years, and he still has his money invested in it, and he's 60 years old. He's not selling it anytime soon. Eventually, if we could get over 88.24, I think we're going to rise to maybe 94. I have a target between $94 and $100 this year. But as of right now, you know, we're going to look to this 83.5 to 83.20 for some support. Next one we're going to look at is CVX. And by the way, the short-term trend is down on Exxon. CVX just seems to be doing all the things right. They're running their operations so efficiently, and investors really are interested in this company. Like it's been, they've been way more attractive than Exxon. So on the short term, Exxon is definitely bullish. On the weekly time frame, Exxon's bullish, and just check this out right here. If we break out of this 110 level and hold, I think we could get a move up to 115. So I'm highly favoring that. And it is a core weighting in the XLE with about 15%. So next we'll look at Schlumberger. Because if these leaders could start moving up, you might want to look to some other companies in the XLE with strong balance sheets that have been beating up. Alright, Schlumberger. Short term, we just turned bullish as of the 6th of March. Now we're holding above 75.11. For me to remain bullish, we're going to have to hold this level and try to go and break out of the 76.75. On the weekly time frame, we're bearish. Now we are flirting with the 50-week moving average. So it's going to be interesting next week if they could turn this thing around and get above these levels. Now if we drop below 75.11, we're going to look to 72.73 for some support. Next one we're looking at is ConocoPhillips. Very bullish. I was watching this stock right when we were approaching the 200. You see, something that I've been back testing lately, I'm always back testing a new idea, but it's when the 5 crosses above the 200. And if it could withhold it, usually you'll get a rather larger move, just like we did here in Conoco. So Conoco could not hold above the prior month's high, and we saw a reversal candle that closed pretty much at lows, about 7 cents from the lows of the day. That I don't like seeing. What I'm going to want to see for a move higher is a break and a hold at least over 77.73 and eventually get over 78 and try to push higher. Short term, we're still in an uptrend on Conoco, and the weekly, long term, we're still in an uptrend. Now we are going to come with some resistance around this $80 level, as we seen back March of last year. And eventually I think it should continue up and retest the 2008 highs of 95.96. Conoco is a 5% holder in the XLE, and just 2 more. First one's Oxy, which has been rather weak lately. Short term, we're in a downtrend. Long term, we're starting to get in a downtrend, but just notice this. We have a big level back from 2011 at 99. So I think this pullback could be healthy, and there's a good chance that it's going to get bought up. Worst case scenario will probably come down to the 96 level, which is the 50-week, and that will show some signs of support. So as of right now, we got to be a little bit skeptical on Oxy, but I think that if the leaders start moving, so will Oxy. And the last one I'm looking at is Halliburton. And this is a company that I will not short just because it has so many political influences in it. So many politicians do well when they get awarded contracts. Short term, we are starting to turn around as of Thursday's session, but we still are in a short-term downtrend. I like that we held above 34.85. If we could continue to hold that level, look for a move up. So my overall thesis on XLE is short term. You know, the leaders are proven to be strong with some moves in CVX and COP next week. I think this could start participating and get a move up. So 74.45 is the level to watch on the XLE. Next one we're going to look at is the XLK, which is the technology sector index. And we've just continued to blast higher on this. The overall performance since the year began is rather impressive. We're up about 13% year to date. If you were a fund manager and bought this at the beginning of the year, your investors are praising you right now, because there's nothing else you can invest in that's giving you the kind of returns as equities. A large reason why the XLK has done so good is Apple. Check this out. I know I keep highlighting this in some of my videos, but just the gap and go on Apple after they reported earnings was amazing. It was such a low risk trade, and now we've just continued to march higher. We've had a couple days where we had some minor sell-offs, but it looks like they're trying to bust it through. Up 32% year to date. Now we're going to have to get over this 548 level to continue marching higher. Me personally, I wouldn't invest in Apple, only because it's had such an amazing move. I know a lot of people are raising their targets up to 660, I think it was, and it may get there. It has a very good chance, has a lot of products in the pipeline. But as of right now, I'm neutral. I think that you could see a range between 516 and 548. Microsoft. By the way, Apple's about 18% of the XLK. Microsoft still hovering above this top range, short-term uptrend. Weekly time frame has an uptrend. Microsoft's looking good. Next we have IBM. I knew IBM was going to 200 and I didn't participate in it. You know, sometimes as an investor, you're watching so many different things, you just can't watch every single stock. But this move didn't surprise me at all back here on February 23rd. The consolidation, the move up to 201, that was pure momentum of all the people accumulating the shares during this consolidation. And now it looks like IBM is phenomenal, and we're probably going to move higher. Short-term uptrend, long-term uptrend. If these three components alone start moving up, you're going to get a higher move in the XLK. Look at Google though. Now I made some real good money. I'm not going to mention the figures on Google, shorting it right under the 607.5 level yesterday, and it was a great trade. I only held on that first initial move down. I only held during this. I made enough money where I didn't need to hold for this. And me, I like fast money. It's kind of difficult because then I'd be saying I hope it doesn't go back. But it did move a ways down, and the weekly options really skyrocketed. If you invested $1,000, you would have easily made $4,000 on your investment if you held during this move. But anyways, Google charts starting to look bearish here. I hope it doesn't roll back over because it could wait on the other components in the XLK. But I think that if it did, we're going to look for some support at 593. followed by 579. The level to watch on the XLK is 29.21. If we get over that, you'll probably see these top weighting components move higher, as every ETF that I'm going to mention. Just continue to watch the leaders and laggards and see how they're participating. If the laggards start catching bids and the leaders start moving up, you might want to get long. Looking at the XHB, which is the Home Builders Index, I'm not going to look into the components on this one. I'm just going to note that the chart is looking good. Short-term uptrend, long-term uptrend. Try to get a reversal here, but then the bulls just gained control and got it over the $20 level. Right now it's bullish. We see on this up move right here, it's coming on increasing volume, which is another good thing. Me personally, I'm not investing in the home builders. I've really never had luck trading them. And me having a construction background, knowing a lot of people that are still in the field saying that things aren't improving, they're basically just doing remodel jobs and new homes aren't being built that much, at least in my state. So I just try to stay away from these. Next up is XLY, which is the Consumer Discretionary Select Index. And this chart looks good, but diving into the components, I have a mixed feeling going into this. Short-term trends up, long-term trends up. Let's start with the largest holding in this index, which is McDonald's. Currently got to close at 96.84. Weekly chart starting to turn over. It had an amazing move in 2011, but now things have come to an end. A lot of the funds that were holding it are lightening up on their positions, as we were told right here. They put out an article talking about food inflation, which I see continuing to rise. Go ahead and look at the commodity prices, especially live cattle. They're at all-time highs. That, with a devaluing dollar, the cost basis and profit margins might not be as favorable as they were now that we're getting all this new news. Still, they'll continue to sell their hamburgers. They're always packed. They're a great franchise. And on weakness, you might want to buy it. We might come back down to this $90 level, and that's probably where the 50-week moving average will be if we get there. But as of right now, I can't get bullish on McDonald's. I'm not going to give you a buy signal because short term we're still bearish. Next up, we have Comcast, which is a big holding of about 6%. Comcast chart's looking good. Check this out. I love these plays. I might get interested in this. We have our gap up on earnings, put out a good number, consolidation, and now we're back above it. Looks like we have a chance to break above $30 next week and continue going higher. Short-term and long-term trend are both up. The only thing I don't like is the light volume right here. This is going to have to start increasing at least to let's call it 9 million shares with the up move to break us over 30 on Monday. Then we have Disney. I'm going to go through these quick. Disney's looking good, but we didn't get a hold above 42.36. But you can't get bearish on this chart. Short and long-term trends are both up. Home Depot looking phenomenal. Breaking out, hitting a new 52-week high, 48.18. Ford Motors, it's consolidating. Short-term and long-term trends down, short-term trends up. Nike, have to mention Nike, 3% holding in the XLY. New 52-week high on Nike, 110.15. I traded this intraday, and Nike's still continuing to look good. We'll do two more. Target, almost 3% holding. Phenomenal. Look at this move in Target off 52. 5 points. You usually don't get this in companies like that. And then we'll do the last one is Starbucks. Starbucks CEO is an amazing guy. And 49 to 52 in 3 days isn't a bad move. Increasing volume. They're talking about taking market share away from GMCR, which is Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. They have the Keurig machine, and Starbucks is saying that they're going to enter that market. So I think it's going to put a damper on the GMCR stock, and it's just another thing that the CEO Howard Schultz is doing right. Right, looking at the XLB, which is the Material Select Sector Index, and that's about 3.5% weighting on the S&P 500. We were looking very bearish. We put in a lower high, a confirmed lower low, as you see right here on the chart, on increasing volume to the downside. That's not good for the bulls. Yes, we held above 36.40, but I'm afraid if we give up that level, we're starting to head back down, and eventually we'll approach the 200-day moving average. We're going to look at some of the components here. By the way, short-term uptrend did turn up on Thursday. Long-term uptrend still down, but we held up when we came and flirted with the 50-week moving average. You know, my investment advice is if you're above the 50, you should stay bullish, even though the chart looks a little bit bearish. If we hold 36.40, we'll get a move. So this is basically the line in the sand that you have to draw in your charts. I know I'm giving you a lot of information quick, but I don't want to run the video too long. DuPont's looking very good. Short-term trends bullish, long-term trends starting to turn bearish. But if we get over 52, I think we could see some more upside in DuPont. That's the largest weighting of 11%. Next, Monsanto. Monsanto's basically been hovering in a range of 3 points from around 77 to 80. We did hold the prior week's low of 77.23. That got me kind of bullish. Short term, we are in an uptrend. Long term, still in an uptrend, but barely. When we approached this 82.43 and we pulled back, that started making me get hesitant on taking a long in Monsanto. So right now I'm neutral until we get a little more conviction. FCX, 8.5% holding. Looking horrible. This chart's totally bearish, and if we give up 38.50, we're just going to continue to move lower. Newmont, bearish, but I can make a case that if we hold 55.81, you might be able to get a pop back up to 58. And Dow Chemical, last one I'll look at. Dow Chemical's looking good. I really like the stock. When they reported earnings, it wasn't what I was looking for. That's why I exited my position after holding it for most of 2012, the beginning, and I exited right after they reported earnings. It took a little bit of a hit on my profits, but I still managed to complete a successful trade. Overall, I am neutral to bearish on the XLB. Remember, 36.40 next week. And the last one that I'm going to go over is the coal index, because I've got multiple emails of investors wanting me to look at this. The sector's completely hated right now. I talked to a gentleman in the investors relations department of A&R, and he told me basically the downturn in coal is because we had a warmer winter than expected. So basically they're looking forward to the summer session where people are going to use more electricity to cool off their houses. And you know, coal also trades in tandem with natural gas. It's not a direct correlation, but they do have a lot of similarities. So we're going to start off saying that we're in a downtrend on the weekly, on the daily charts. Now, a lot of people, if you hear the rumor, Obama doesn't like coal, that's definitely true. But that really doesn't make a difference, because if I see something that's sold off enough and I know that the company's not going to go bankrupt, the PE ratio is attractive, the balance sheet's attractive, I'll start scaling into a position. I'm watching ACI, I'm watching A&R. You know, ACI is a main competitor of A&R, so they kind of move together. You hear the old investors say buy when there's blood on the streets, and I have to agree with that. So let's get straight to it. I don't want to see a slip below the $200 level. Otherwise, you could see a rapid descent to around 160. But if we hold above 200 and we continue going up and break above this 222, maybe you could make a case to start getting invested, at least for a short-term move up to 243 on the US coal index. Look at some of the holdings in the US coal index. ANR. Again, I'm watching ANR very closely. Every time we get to 16, we see investors start buying this up. Short and long-term trends are both down. And then we have this 1572, which is a yearly pivot level dating all the way back from 2007. And we got another bounce off that. So I'm going to give you about 4 or 5 cold names here, ANR being the first one. If they start participating next week, I'm probably going to put some money in them. Next one we'll look at is ACI. Basically is identical chart to this ANR. And we had 11.5 as a level from 2009 and 2008 after the big sell-off from 77.40 high. Of course, we're in a downtrend on both short and long-term trends, and we held 11.56. That was another good thing. I think that with a move over 12.09, you might be able to get a little more upside. And they did hit a 52-week back on Monday, a 52-week low. So watch ACI. Walter, I call it Walt. Walt had a big move, and that's really what I want to see. On the intraday chart, my buy level was 59.76, and it hit a high at 62.47. So if you're a day trader, you could probably watch these coal stocks and see if they get some cover next week. Another thing to note, this is on increasing volume. That's what I want to see when I'm looking at stocks that have been beaten up. And 60 is a major level we see. We've been testing it for the past 4 years. And if we hold above that, let's look for some higher moves. BTU, this chart's very bearish. Look at the funds dumping their current assets and holdings in this BTU on heavy volume. That I don't want to see when I'm getting involved in a company. And they ran the stock up in the morning, but they closed it roughly 0.2% off lows. We are above the 31.13 pivot, so that's the first level I'm going to give you, 31.13. Above that, you could probably take a long. Below that, there's a good chance we'll retest 29.86. And that about does it for this video. It took a little longer than I really wanted it to, but I don't feel that it's right for me just to give you the ETFs without giving you the holdings as well. Alright, so I'm about to go and read some balance sheets. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll probably try to get out another video tomorrow evening after the futures open, and gonna give you a guide next week on the individual stocks that I pick out.